Darklumiya of GamonGaming here, bringing you an extensive guide on the Lifecoach Pirate Warrior deck that I used throughout Season 3 to climb the ladder. Throughout the guide, I'm going to be giving deck choices, mulligan decisions, and actual gameplay to kind of show you how I play throughout each matchup. So to dip right into it, the deck plays two upgrades. It's essentially one of the strongest cards in the deck as it gives your weapon an extra durability and also gives you an extra damage. It can also be used as a weapon, and one of the situations that occurred recently where I used it as a weapon was when I was playing against the opponent who turn 1 Argent Squired, and I had coin Mukla and an upgrade. So I played turn 1 upgrade, swung into the shield on the Argent Squire, and then right before I played out the Mukla on turn 2, I then swung in to kill the Argent Squire, therefore giving my opponent no board to deal with a turn 2 King Mukla, which is extremely difficult. So like I said, some situations will occur where you play it out as a weapon, but it's very rare. After that, we have 2 Abusive Sergeant, 2 Leper Gnome, 2 South Sea Deckhand. Leper Gnome is really the only thing you're going to keep in your opening hand out of those. The Deckhand, contrary to popular belief, you do not keep. It's actually something you want to draw later on when you already have a weapon out just to get that free 2 damage in. However, if you do end up getting it in your opening hand, I don't recommend playing it out unless you're playing against Zoo or against Miracle Rogue if they have coin. Therefore, you try and get them to burn the coin and kind of get tempo in your favor a little bit. After that, we have 2 Fiery War Axe, which is, in my opinion, the most important card in the deck. It's extremely important to get it in the Zoo matchup, and just about any other matchup. It just gets your deck going. Obviously, you have the Bloodsail Raiders that are going to synergize with it, so it's really important to just get it out as quickly as possible. You also have the Dread Corsairs, which we'll go over in a little bit. 2 Amani Berserkers are in there to pretty much make your deck swipe-proof. They're, in addition to, being good 2 and 3 drop, they just make it so your opponent really can't clear your board evenly when it comes to like a Blade Flurry or something. If they can't kill everything, then the Amani would just get enraged, and it might prevent them from making a big play. After that, we have 2 Frothing Berserkers and a King Mukla. These are the only 3 drops in the deck. Frothing is really good because it's pretty much a big threat that your opponent has to take care of, and it might allow your other minions to live. And if you do manage to pump it up, you can end game pretty quickly. It just synergizes nice and well with the weapons. The Mukla is amazing if you get it out on turn 2 and you're able to coin it out. Most decks really don't have an answer to it. I mean, Warlocks have a Soulfire, which doesn't even straight up kill it. And then Druids have, maybe like coins, or if they're not on the coin, then they really can't deal with it outside of an Innervate. And Hunters have Hunter's Mark. But still, like, either way, it gives you the tempo, because most likely they're going to have to take the damage. If not, they wasted their whole turn trying to get rid of it. So it's a really strong card. 2 Mortal Strike pretty much goes without saying. People don't really play around it these days either, which makes your job a lot easier. After that, we have 2 Wrathy Weaponsmith, 2 Dread Corsair, 2 Corks, and a Leroy. The Weaponsmiths are there because you need 6 weapons, and it's really strong, especially in like a Zoo matchup. Like I said, it's just really important to get a weapon out in the early going, and if you don't have your War Axe, then a Wrathy is the next best thing. Dread Corsair combos extremely well with both the Weaponsmith and the South Sea, and also goes out for free when you have an Arcanite. It's just a really strong card. Most of the time you're never gonna, like, I couldn't tell you, well, very occasionally does it ever go out at 4. You probably lost the game anyway if it comes to that. 2 Quick Chron Elites, really good for charging, synergizing with Abusive Sergeant, not much to say about it. Leroy, again, it's the finisher. 2 Arcanite Reapers. This is the one card that most people actually get rid of in their opening hand, and it's actually wrong to do that. This is like your main finishing card. It's 10 damage for 5 mana. With an upgraded greenskin, it becomes even more. There are times where you will actually keep 2 weapons in your hand. You'll keep Fiery War Axe and an Arcanite. The only time I usually wouldn't keep in a Wrathy and an Arcanite is if I'm not on coin, and if I don't have like anything else but the Arcanite. Like, you never want to keep the Arathi and the Arcanite unless you're on coin, because then you could always coin out the Arathi on turn 3 and get full usage out of it before the Arcanite drops. Lastly, the deck's rounded out by 1 Captain Greenskin and 1 Argent Commander. Greenskin is your 3rd upgrade. It also puts a threat on the board that your opponent has to deal with right away. It's really strong. Argent Commander can be replaced with an Arcane Golem. I used to run Arcane Golem previously. I found Argent Commander to be a bit better. It's more mana, but it also has that shield, which can be crucial if you're trading with something like a Gadgetzan Auctioneer, or even like an Azure Drake or something. It's just nice to have towards the end game if you need to do some damage control. Alright, so what we're going to do is go over the mulligan choices just to give you guys a general outlook. Now, as I said previously, the mulligan is the most important thing. Not only for this deck, but for every deck. Most people think that they're playing it right, and there could actually be like one little thing they're doing wrong in the mulligan that would actually cause them to lose. Um, so I'm going to show you guys how it works with this deck. War Axe is the most important thing. Also, guys, Druid is one of the worst matchups, if not the worst, arguably. So this should be a nice test. You keep the Fiery War Axe and you get rid of all of these. These are good late game. And Salsi, again, is something you do not want to keep in your opening hand. It's more something to draw down the line when you're looking for that extra 2 damage. You want to be trying to get stronger cards in the beginning. And we actually have a decent mulligan here with Leper into War Axe and then a Arathi as well. So we have our weapons. Now we just got to look to get into our 5-2 weapon and we'll be fine. Turn 1 Leper is extremely strong for the deck. Obviously it's the most, well, probably the strongest opening other than like a Coin Mukla on turn 2, depending on the matchup. Coin Mukla in this matchup is actually like really good because Druid doesn't have a way to deal with it outside of an Innervate into a big minion. And looks like he just hero ability and passed. Oh, he could have Innervate into like a Loot Hoarder or something here, which we might see, which actually wouldn't be good for us. Alright, so there's our Arcanite, which is perfect. We're actually just going to... Well, you can make an argument for not swinging. He'll be on 3. Given our mana, it makes sense here, because we're probably going to go into a Cork next turn and then a Arathi next turn. You'll want to swing here. If you don't have another weapon, it would actually make sense to save that, because you might need to get through something, like you never know. But when you have weapons waiting in line, you're better off just swinging. Alright, now he's actually got off to a pretty decent start here with the Wild Growth, but I think we're actually looking a bit better. Right, so let's see here. We have Coin. The problem is we don't have a turn if I save the coin. Now we have to play it now. So we're actually going to coin out the Korkron. And swing with both. You can make an argument for swinging with the weapon first, then playing in a Arathi, but then again, you're also going to be delayed 1 turn, and you're going to lose 2 damage out of it, so it doesn't make that much sense. It's better to throw the Cork out. It's more of a threat, and you get the direct damage. Looks like we're going to see a Druid of the Claw here, which is really bad for us. Oh, it's actually a Yeti. That's completely fine. Druid of the Claw is something that the deck has trouble dealing with. And our only play here is to Weaponsmith, swing to face. Next turn we get the Arcanite into the Dread Corsair for free, which is beautiful. He really needs to get a taunt at this point. Silences is fine, it's way too slow. Be really cool to draw like an upgrade right now. Even a Captain Greenskin would be nice. And we need our opponent to not have Defender. Oh, there's a Leroy, okay. So this actually works perfectly. Just swing to face with your weapon and drop your Dread Corsair for free. Next turn, barring a taunt, we have game. And then if we don't, then we can always kind of work around it. This is actually looking really good in our favor. As I said previously, though, Druid is a bad matchup just because of the taunts that they can drop. If they draw into a Sunwalker... Alright, and sorry guys, we actually DC'd out right there, but we got back in just in time to win the game. Little BM, which was actually not intended at all. But that's how you play against Druid. The mulligan was pretty straightforward, so we're actually just going to dip right into a second game. Like I said though, you want to be looking for your axe and pretty much any weapon. If you come across your Arcanite Reaper or your Arathi, you also are looking to keep them as well. Most of the time you would even keep both in War Axe or Arcanite and a War Axe. But like I said, it depends on the matchup, and hopefully we'll get into another game or two where I can show you guys some more of the difficult mulligans and how you have to approach them. A lot of it really does come down to determining the matchup as well. Like if you're playing against a Warlock, then you have to be conscious that it could be either Zoo or Handlock, and that's something you have to take into account. depending on like where you're at on the ladder. Now this is the deck that, well, as long as it's Miracle, that we're actually intended to beat. This is why the deck was built in the first place. You can make an argument for keeping the Frothing. I don't like it without coin and not having a weapon. It's better to throw it away and try and get at least a 2-drop, which we did here. So we don't have that poor of a hand, but it could be a little bit better. We still don't have our weapon, so just pass here. And the good thing is we do have a solid curve out after this. We just have to hope the rogue doesn't get off to too big of a start. We drew a Leroy, which again isn't going to matter too much until the end, but at least we have it now. I think one of the major things that I discussed a little bit earlier was the fact that if you have the Arcanite Reaper in your opening hand, you should keep it. Most people don't keep it, and then they need to draw it by like turn 5 or 6, and they just don't have it. So this guy's BMing a little hard here. He had the Backstab Coin SI Agent, which is probably the strongest play you could have, but that's okay. Get right into a Frothing. Just have to be able to control the board a little bit against a rogue in the beginning. If they get off to too quick, then too quick of a start, you're really screwed. Hopefully that was a misplay on his part there, which I believe it was. Yes, it was. Well, that's great for us. He could have saved his SI there by just attacking first and then shivving. So we actually don't have a weapon, as I keep stating, which is bad, because now we have a Dread Corsair and a Greenskin that are not looking too hot. You can actually play out the Greenskin if you don't have a weapon and you don't have a better play. So we're going to see. A lot of people won't play it out just because they're thinking that, you know, they can get more value out of it, but just having a 5-4 out there is pretty good value. Looks like he's setting up for a Blade Flurry next turn, unless he's attacking it and the arrow's just messed up, which it wasn't. This is actually a big misplay on his part, I think. Let's see. This is actually very interesting because we just drew the Mukla. If he attacked like that, then he definitely has to have the Blade Flurry. Which kind of makes me not want to play into it with Mukla yet. It just doesn't make sense for him to have made that play and then not have had a Blade Flurry waiting in the wings. The thing is, even if he Blade Flurries next turn, he'll have 3 mana left over to combo and kill my Mukla, which is very easy. I still think it's better to throw out the Mukla here, because he still is going to have to deal with it. So let's do that. Let's play out the Mukla. We're not going to play the Abusive, because we can just play that later. Might as well use the hero ability. There's no point overextending too much. The bananas will hopefully not have too much of an impact. Like I said, Muckling not on a turn 3 is... It can vary. It depends if you have board control or not. Luckily, we did. And like I said, if he wants the Blade Flurry here, he's still going to need at least you know, like a Blood Mage Shiv or an Abyss or something to be able to combo. But either way, that's still his whole turn, and tempo will then have switched to our side. So I'm expecting the Blade Flurry right here. And then if he didn't have it, then that makes it even easier for us, because he's not going to be able to deal with these two outside of a Blade Flurry on 5 mana. We're looking at 8 damage in our hand, which is very nice. Oh wow, did he really not have it? Oh, you might see it here. Yeah, it's got to be. Yeah, there it is. Okay. So that's fine. Again, he couldn't deal with it. And we're actually just going to completely ignore that Earthen Ring. And we're going to play out the Greenskin as well, I believe here. I could play out the... Actually, you know what? The Dread is probably a much better play. Reasoning behind that is he might not be able to get through the Dread and kill the Mukla with enough mana. So I actually kind of like saving the Greenskin. And now I can flood the board a little bit because he has already played his Blade Flurry. The best part is if he has like Fan or anything to deal with this, then the Amani kind of makes it Fan Blade Flurry proof, which is the main reason that Amani is in the deck. He also helps a lot against Druid to protect from swipe, other than just being a pretty good 2-drop as well. So we're actually in a pretty good spot here, unless he has the second Blade Flurry, which I would never put him on. Appears that he did not have it, which is perfectly fine. So again, he has to waste his whole turn here and take 3 damage to kill my field, which doesn't even clear it, and it's going to clear his unless he... Oh, never mind, he sapped. Which is, again... Oh, so he sapped that to trade with... Ooh, that was interesting. I guess that works. Oh, we finally drew a weapon. And right now we're in a pretty dominating position. Next turn we can greenskin, and actually, next turn we might even be able to win depending what he does. Most likely not though. Like I said though, against the Miracle Rogue matchup, it's just really important to get bored early and control from there, as rogues don't really have a lot of minions. So if you're able to take care of their early game, then you're probably going to end up on top. See, because he has to waste all his removal to deal with my minions, and every time he takes extra face damage, I'm happy. So actually, do we win here? 8, 10, 13. No, we're too short. So this is actually just going to be a... Oh, would it even be better to Arcanite, or would it be better to Greenskin? I guess it's just better Arcanite here. Yep. You leave the Blood Mage as it really doesn't matter. We're sitting at full health and he's only on 8 mana. So the game is pretty much over here, barring an Earthen Ring Shadow Step. You'd probably need 2 of them. Or you could run a random Defender of Argus, who knows. But like I said, this matchup is exceptional for the Pirate Warrior deck. It's actually why it was intended, or the intention of the deck in the first place was to beat Miracle. Lately on the ladder, I haven't been seeing as much Miracle, which is why I cut back a little bit with this deck. But I did play it throughout almost the entire Season 3 ladder climb. I climbed from when I started down to 3, and then from there I switched to a different deck. But if you're seeing a lot of Miracle Rogue, this deck is definitely the choice for you. It's too fast for Miracle usually, unless they get a nut opening draw, and you saw that even this time he opened with a backstab coin SI and still couldn't recover. Although he did make that slight misplay in that was a pretty big misplay, not being able to keep his SI agent. And now we win with do it in style with a Greenskin. There we go. Alright, so now you've seen the Druid matchup, the Miracle Rogue matchup. We're going to play another one here and see if we can get another matchup for you guys, just so I can give you the most diversity I can, because each matchup's different. You're going to play each a little bit differently, and you're obviously going to mulligan differently as well. Oh, he sent us a friend request. Well, we'll decide about that later. So what I want to hopefully we get a Zoo matchup, because that's the one where people say that it is a really bad matchup, and it is. But if you mulligan properly, you can give yourself a decent chance. You just have to not let the Zoo snowball you. If you can stymie them in the beginning with War Axe, and even in that matchup, I keep upgrades. So I mean, it really depends if you know that it's Zoo or not. Alright, well, we got Hunter, which is actually a very good matchup if he's playing Rush. This deck destroys Hunter Rush. Let's see, starting out here, it's not worth it to keep the upgrade. We have the coins, so we can turn 3 Weaponsmith. You do keep that. Looks like he got rid of 1. I guess you could make an argument against Hunter Rush to keep the upgrade in case he like turn 1 Lepers. But I don't think it's worth it here. I think it's better to try and get a 2-drop, which will stymie them just as well. Whew, that's an interesting hand. It's not that bad because we have the coin, but it is bad in the fact that we don't really have much to do after that. I need my hand to kind of round itself out for me, but at least he didn't open that well. And we drew the upgrade right back. So we just pass. Now we might turn to Mukla depending what he does. The problem with that in this matchup is Mukla is easily taken care of via a Freezing Trap or a Hunter's Mark. You can play around the Freezing Trap, but not so much the Hunter's Mark. Alright, now we are actually going to coin the Mukla because it's better to play it out in the beginning before he gets a chance to draw those cards. And we don't have a turn 3 specifically next turn, but we do have Abusive Sergeant into whatever, so we can do that as well. But we got to get the tempo going here against the Hunter and just hope he doesn't have the Hunter's Mark. Even if he has the Hunter's Mark at this point, he would need the Explosive Trap or an Unleash to back it up. And we really don't know what kind of Hunter he is right now, so he might not even be playing the Explosive Trap if he's the mid-range build. That's actually been sparking up in popularity a lot lately. Alright, so does he have the Hunter's Mark? He does not. Alright, so he wants to race us, which is not really something that he is capable of doing. We're just going to throw out the Frothing here. There's no point to play out the abusive, especially if he's trying to slow roll us into like an explosive trap Hunter's Mark. This way, the explosive trap won't do as much to us. Looks like he's going to Buzzard Boar. Yes. I guess he's going to Banana the Boar, and then, oh no. Guess he's just digging for a Hunter's Mark at this point. No, which he drew, of course. But that's fine. We have a really good turn 4 play here, as long as he doesn't have a way to deal with that, which he doesn't. Okay, so now we just go right into a Arathi Weaponsmith. Clear out the 2-1 because you cannot leave that up. And then you hit with Frothing directly. So at this point we have massive board presence against the Hunter. He's already wasted 1 mark. And that's, like I said before, the benefit of a Coin Muckla is even if they do have the answer to it, they're still going to have to waste pretty much their whole turn to deal with it, which then gives you the tempo to pretty much snowball a victory. At this point we're looking really, really well. We can upgrade into a Korkron next turn, or we could upgrade into a abusive Dread Corsair. We'll see. Depends what he does here. He might be setting that up for a big Houndmaster, which actually makes me want to consider getting rid of it, and I probably will. Because we're already at such an advantage, there's no point to overextend here. And we drew the Greenskin, which is actually really good here. I could do this a couple different ways. Actually, the Greenskin might not be the best play here, because if we upgrade to a 3, we'll have 4 mana. I kind of like just making that Frothing really big. So let's actually just do this. Upgrade. And swing with everything. This way we're able to get the taunt out. You could have just did like an upgrade Korkron move. I like keeping the Frothing in the game, and I also like being able to put out the Dread Corsair. Just if he does have a way to deal with it. Now he probably doesn't, because he's not going to be able to get through that taunt. And next turn we should be able to win, barring pretty much anything he does. Like I said, this matchup is very easy. Even an Unleash here is not going to save him. That actually did slowly, oh, almost. Almost was able to salvage it, but we drew the, we didn't even need to draw the upgrade as well, but. Should I finish, can you finish him out like this? Let's see, 4, 5, yep, that works. Oh, he didn't even let us do it. And lastly, guys, we're going to go over how to mulligan and play effectively against Zulok. This is a matchup that you'll be seeing the most of on the ladder, and it's also the most difficult matchup for the deck in my opinion, because it's so reliant on you getting a Fiery War Axe. Contrary to popular belief, you would not keep the deckhand here. You actually get rid of everything. Even if it wasn't Zoo, you wouldn't keep that deckhand. It's more beneficial to try and get power cards such as like an early game Amani Berserker or the Fiery War Axe, which is the most important card in this matchup and is pretty much the only reason why you can win. So yeah, this is a really bad hand, unfortunately. I guess we can still draw into our War Axe. Now you actually have to play this out, because if you know you're playing against Zoo, you have to kind of get some type of tempo. And this just really isn't going to do it. Our opponent can pretty much play anything to stymie this. I mean, I guess if he has Flame Imp and that's his only play, but you have to do it regardless. And our opponent had nothing. Not that our turn 2 is that good at all, but you just play out the South Sea and attack. Looks like our Zoo player might have ran into a bad draw here. Which is pretty much the only way you're going to win this matchup, just so you know. It's extremely difficult to win, especially when you draw, like, these are all dead. At this point, there's no point trying to trade with the Harvest Golem, because you can't even clear out the second one. At So now we're in a position where our opponent has to trade with us, barring like some Soulfire shenanigans, which he very well might have. Yeah, we're definitely going to be seeing a Soulfire here. Okay. What does it discard? Knife Juggler, that's okay, I guess. Problem is, like, the rest of our hand here is just, no, that's okay. It's nothing great. At this point, we're just going to ignore. Now, you can't really trade efficiently with Harvest Golems in this deck and, like, get anywhere with it. So we're just going to have to go and do our Arcanite next turn, and then hopefully a turn 6 Greenskin. The only thing that can really slow you down is the Argus. If they have it, you're in a really bad spot. But like I said, there's no point trading with these Harvest Golems because they're just going to replace with other 2/1s, so something's going to get Argus regardless. But being able to stymie Zoo in the beginning is how you win. It really gives you the opportunity to kind of build your board, or at least slow your opponent down enough that you're now the aggressor and they have to play defensively. So at this point, we just don't want to see a Defender of Argus. That's really the only thing that can get in our way. Because we have Greenskin next turn, which is going to give us another 6 damage plus the Mortal Strike. Looks like he is threatening with a huge board here, but it might not be enough. That's actually amazing. Greenskin into the Dread Corsair. It's one of the best combos to be able to do that with a weapon. Now we put up a taunt wall. Barring a taunt, even if he does taunt, we still might be able to pull this out. But like I said, everybody, Zoo is by far the hardest matchup. Your win rate against it is going to be most likely even sub 40. It really just comes down to mulliganing aggressively to get the Fiery War Axe, and you can keep, you know, if you have coin and an Amani Berserker, you can keep that as well. Obviously, because you gotta at least put something out there each turn. If you let Zoo get out of control, you will lose. And regardless, here we've won. Mortal Strike, OP. And that is how you win against Zoo. You hope they don't draw that well in the beginning, and you just snowball a victory. So that's going to wrap up the guide on Pirate Warrior. If you have any questions, leave them below, and I will definitely get back to you. Have a good one.